Before we start today's video, check out our merch shop, linked in the description down below. Use code Ahsoka in all caps to get $7 off your order. May the Force be with you, and enjoy the vid.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we have an exciting update into the regards of the future of Thrawn within the Mando-verse. We're gonna go ahead and hop right on into it. Before we do though, however, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're discussing and covering all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel, so if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button. We also have our merch shop up live and running, linked in the description down below with some promo codes for you guys to get some money off. Go check it out. Okay, so in this video we are going to be taking a read from StarWarsNewsNet.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. Dave Filoni recently took to tease a future Thrawn in the Mando-verse versus a Hera rematch in a team up with Captain Pellaeon. These are all things that we're more than likely to see happen and come to fruition in either option A, as I feel like I'm always talking about here on the channel, either a possible potential Ahsoka Season 2 for one, or the confirmed one that was announced at the beginning of this year, Dave Filoni's very own Mando-verse Cultimation movie. And so, as their article reads, Ahsoka finally has introduced live-action Grand Admiral Thrawn into the schemes of things in a galaxy far, far away. Not just that, but also making him a prime new villain, and he's here to stay. Dave Filoni had teased earlier this year that he would be set up as the main villain of the New Republic era stories, or within the Mando-verse, this post-Return of the Jedi era, and now he's doubled down on that even more. While we still don't know exactly when Thrawn will appear next, we have our ideas. Maybe, as I had mentioned, Ahsoka Season 2, possibly, potentially, or even Dave Filoni's very own Mando-verse movie. I would also think that Thrawn would appear somewhere in the Mandalorian Season 4, if not maybe at least a reference at the very least. Although I feel like that's something to discuss a little bit later down the road. Dave Filoni has recently teased that the threads that have been set up this year throughout the Mandalorian Season 3 as well as Ahsoka and how they'll be followed up soon. Speaking to Empire Magazine recently in their end of the year review issue, Dave Filoni, who was recently promoted to Chief Creative Officer at Lucasfilm, mind you, had hinted that they didn't introduce Captain Pellaeon in the Mandalorian Season 3 for nothing. Pellaeon was Thrawn's right-hand man in the Heir to the Empire novel trilogy, and he'll be sitting next to the Chiss leader quite soon, according to Filoni. Captain Pellaeon was reintroduced into live action in The Mandalorian Season 3, being a part of Moff Gideon's Shadow Council, reinstating that he is still around in the galaxy for one, and that he will have a future alongside Thrawn in the very near future. Dave Filoni says that, in quote, "We set up Captain Pellaeon in The Mandalorian Season 3, and that's a character that goes with Thrawn, so I'd love to see the two of them together again." Ending that quote right there, very straightforward. It's just putting it very plain and obvious out there that, yeah, that's something that we have in the cards for sure. And there's even more to that even. As Star Wars Rebels fans may remember, Thrawn's main rival from the Ghost Crew was Hera Syndulla often. Even if he had individual confrontations with each one of them, of the members of the Ghost Crew, Hera didn't play a large role in the second half of the Ahsoka series, but Dave Filoni had teased that a rematch between her, Hera, and Thrawn is something that's going to be in the works. Filoni teases that, in quote, "His foil throughout Rebels was Hera. Pitting the two generals against one another is something that I find very interesting." And that quote right there. I think that's also very much into the regards of that, like, well, these two characters are generals, and especially Hera becoming more of a general type of character is something that was very elevated, I think, throughout the Ahsoka series, and it's something I think that we'll continue to see more and more of, especially now that we're kind of back within the main Star Wars galaxy, except for Ahsoka and Sabine, who are still stranded on this other galaxy on the planet of Peridia. But taking into consideration that, yeah, Hera is a general and Thrawn is a general, or more of a Grand Admiral in the scheme of things, it would definitely make sense to see these two characters pitted against one another and see them going at it, I think, in some type of larger space battle, very similar to what we saw throughout the Star Wars Rebels animated show, as Filoni also kind of mentioned there, of kind of how it's like a callback to Rebels almost in a way, and how they kind of see that play out into the future and kind of continuing on more of a as a sequel essentially to what the Star Wars Rebels animated show was. That's exactly what Ahsoka was for that animated show, and he wants to take that and he wants to keep the ball rolling with that in the future of the Mando-verse. I also want to mention though, however, having that rematch between Thrawn and Hera is something I think that's all more into the idea of what maybe Filoni has planned for an Ahsoka Season 2, possibly potentially outline. It was revealed a couple of weeks ago very casually, and I find that very funny still, honestly, even though it was a couple of weeks ago, that Ahsoka actress Rosario Dawson in an interview after the SAG-AFTRA Actors Strike strike had came to a conclusion. We're hearing all this downpour about Ahsoka, about everything from behind the scenes, new reveals, new teases, and it's been amazing, all by which we have been covering here on the channel. All the more reason to grab that subscribe button if you haven't already. But Rosario Dawson just randomly throws out there that, oh yeah, Dave Filoni, he is working on an Ahsoka Season 2 outline, and especially given his recent promotion in the Lucasfilm ranks as a chief creative officer now, it puts him much more into the creative decisions and the vision and overall field of things as like kind of like a Kevin Feige-like figure essentially for what Marvel is. If you're a Marvel fan, we have our Marvel channel linked in the description down below. So kind of with that in mind, and that kind of being something that's like confirmed as a tease from Rosario Dawson herself, even I think at that, it feels like it's more of a prominent idea that we could see come to fruition. And also, not to mention, I mean, it is Disney, it's a big corporate, right, like a studio here, so they're going to base things off of the numbers. And if the numbers for the Ahsoka series weren't good enough for them, already telling from that, Ahsoka was one of their most successful Disney Plus shows overall, inside and out of the Star Wars franchise. And, you know, thinking as a corporate mind or a corporate studio, as Disney kind of is, the House of Mouse, they're going to look at those numbers and say, hey, this performed really well, let's do a second season. Not to mention that there's plenty of a story, narrative, threads, and everything in between to still be picked back up and explored more on in Ahsoka Season 2. It's also something I want to discuss in a separate future video here on the channel, but we recently did also kind of get a bit of a tease and a bit of a wind into the regards of the rumor mill for The Mandalorian Season 4 as that begins its pre-production ramping up for the new year of 2024, filming in February of next year, more than likely, is that many of the threads and narratives and storylines that we've seen throughout the Ahsoka series is something that they don't want to interact much with The Mandalorian Season 4. Like, they don't want Ahsoka to come in and steal The Mandalorian Season 4, essentially, and have that act as their second season for Ahsoka. There is, like, something that's already going on with that. They already have their story set up for that, and they want to keep the two very much separate. That isn't to say that they don't want, like, the different characters to kind of cameo within their different shows, because that is what the Mando-verse is this interconnective, weaved in, like, story of different characters kind of just popping up in each other's shows. I think that the Book of Boba Fett was a prime example of that. Okay, and lastly, let's close out with this. Lars Mikkelsen, behind the live-action Thrawn and the voice of Thrawn throughout the Rebels animated show, also spoke to Empire Magazine about his thoughts on the character overall, and what he thinks his main motivation is at this point. Lars Mikkelsen says that, in quote, straighten out all of the others and tidy up the shop, essentially. I could imagine something in terms of a power play within the Empire, and that quote right there, of essentially what is Thrawn exactly after, like what is his end goal. It may be in comparison to what Thanos wanted for the Marvel Cinematic Universe within the Infinity Saga. His main goal was to bring that peace and that like balance essentially with the Infinity Stones wiping out half the galaxy. That kind of ordeal is what they want to bring to Thrawn essentially throughout not only these Disney Plus shows, but also with the Thrawn movie being directed by Dave Filoni. And so it seems that goal so far right now is to essentially reestablish the Empire, to bring the overall order back to the Empire, bringing up tidying up the shop essentially, as Lars Mikkelsen states. I think that's the best way we can get it out. It's currently unknown when these storylines will be revisited, although Ahsoka hasn't been officially renewed yet for its second season. Fingers crossed for it. Thrawn could pop up in The Mandalorian Season 4 for all we know, but as I had mentioned, they don't want to have an Ahsoka Season 2 essentially steal the show for The Mandalorian Season 4. Anyway, all things seem to be setting up for a big finale coming to theaters in the near future, through the Dave Filoni film that he's going to be directing, writing, being the Thrawn movie. This year all being said, guys, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What are you guys looking forward to seeing the most in the future of the franchise, with the Mando-verse, with Thrawn and Ahsoka Season 2, and everything in between? I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.